A very warm welcome back to GlobeTrotting. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Qantas is the flag carrier of Australia. As such, it has a responsibility to help transport Australians around the world, additionally bring people to and from the country, while flying the kangaroo on its tail proudly. However, over recent years, the airline has come under heavy public scrutiny, and this video won't delve into the scrutiny, but rather into the side of their fleet and operations. We'll take a look at their flying fleet, and how with every passing month, there's increasingly more pressure being put on the aircraft the airline operates, and how constraints are hurting the airline. Today's video has been a long time in the making, so let's firstly explore the current Qantas fleet to get an understanding better of the situation. Per Cirium data, Qantas has 122 aircraft in service. Of this, representing aircraft being marked in service that will complete select missions for long-haul flights are 11 787-9s, 7 A380s and 10 A330-300s with a handful of Dash 200s. For a flag carrier, this is not the most substantial fleet you'll ever see. However, Qantas has significant plans to acquire jets over the coming years. This includes more 787s, but also their new flagship, which will be the Airbus A350 for Project Sunrise flights. Additionally, they're securing the A220, which means that new routes to Asia will be made possible thanks to the capabilities of this Airbus narrowbody. However, even with these new aircraft slated to join in the coming years, many still see the airline as having a new aircraft problem. To really begin with, Qantas has not been aided by delivery delays. While these impact carriers around the world, for Qantas who have relied on the Boeing 787 to be their current flagship, if you will, experiencing delays in welcoming these jets into their fleet have significantly hurt their plans to launch to new destinations. As Boeing has continued to have quality assurance difficulties with its 787s and multiple mandates from the Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA, essentially the governing body in the United States, to suspend deliveries and production, Qantas has been left sitting on the sidelines awaiting these new jets. Qantas reported that its 787s were already years delayed, before in February of 2023, that being this year in relation to this video's publication, further problems were identified with the 787, halting deliveries. As very much evident in just this brief explanation that could stretch an entire video, you can see there's a continued string of niggles that are impacting the 787, meaning that for airlines it's hard for them to plan actually acquiring these planes on time. It's worth mentioning, this isn't just hurting the 787, there are also other aircraft programs, even at Airbus, seeing delivery delays. Next, Perth Airport currently remains the gateway for European expansion for Qantas until they acquire the A350. However, as previously covered here in a video on the channel, the airline faces continued disputes with the airport over the launch of new flights. Additionally, moving terminals and the complete overhaul of their current terminal. Let's just say the relationship there probably isn't as optimized as it could be. These disputes, alongside aircraft issues, have really prevented the airline from launching desirable European services, such as notably Frankfurt in Germany and Paris in France. While it is currently reported that discussions are ongoing with Qantas and Air France for a Perth to Paris flight to work in some capacity, what that is remains unknown. Ideally, they wouldn't want as many roadblocks in these flights becoming a reality, and for progress to be a lot more easier and straightforward. But because of these ongoing disputes with Perth Airport, capacity constraints and a whole lot more to consider, it's not as easy going. Qantas grounded its Airbus A380s during the height of the pandemic, like many other airlines. Their reactivation of the Super Jumbo has been stagnant in relation to demand. While they do attempt to get these planes to return from storage is not as simple as quickly putting them back in service with a couple of checks. There are thousands of man-hours that need to be completed, test flights and more before these planes can be fit to have passengers on board. It's something that airlines all around the globe need to go through if they want to return a jet to service. But when Qantas is relying on an aircraft type that only continues to see delays and constraints as really what is now their flagship for international services, it doesn't exactly make the perfect recipe when they're also trying to bring back the world's largest passenger plane. Qantas simply says, and they've said this many times now, that the reactivation process is such a slog that in many cases reactivating them quickly isn't actually possible. Therefore, it only negatively impacts their network and where capacity may be required, engineers, space at their facilities, and a whole lot more. What it also means is it allows more competitors, such as on trans-Pacific flights, to come through and offer additional services. This is being especially currently seen with United Airlines, who are ramping up services from North American cities through to the Oceania region, and in some cases are actually offering more capacity than the flag carrier. Included in Qantas's deals are options for more orders, should they require them. These options are for 787s and many more. It's about activating them though, and according to a new report by The Australian, which was published only a matter of days ago and has been included in this already recorded video for some added benefit, there's more calls than ever that more 787s are needed for capacity and new routes. The amount they have and the amount they will eventually have simply won't be enough if Qantas has any ambitions to truly become more of a global presence. Pilot unions, however, warn that even with the additional 787s expected this Australian winter, any options turned into orders would still take years and years and years to arrive. Therefore, it wouldn't address the current concerns. It almost puts Qantas in a situation where they won't be able to achieve some of the goals and ambitions that they have for some time, even if yes, they take the necessary methods to achieve such a thing. Interestingly enough, Qantas recently sent an A330 for freighter conversion, which has certainly raised eyebrows, all things considering. The freighter market is massively important, but on some forums it's left people wondering why they would make such a decision when they're already needing additional capacity. Qantas is also currently going through a major fleet overhaul. While international travel is on their minds, the reality is Qantas, QantasLink, Qantas Freight, and Jetstar are all seeing major changes take place. People argue that Qantas could very simply be chewing off more than they can handle, with them trying to replace almost every flying type, having deliveries coming left, right, and centre, then delays occurring for each respective program, taking away from retirement plans, and everything in between. Once fully delivered, A321XLRs, A320neo family jets, A350s, A220s, 787s, and potentially even more types will occupy the group's fleet. Even then though, there are still planes that will need replacing. The 2020s will be a slog for Qantas as fleet retirements take place and new equipment come in, and everything that comes because of a new type. Calls for more A350-1000s or even A350-900s have also been made to help cope. While leasing agreements can be made possible, the airline simply, according to many, needs to find ways to increase capacity and source additional aircraft to launch routes and become more competitive. While there are several roadblocks as discussed in this video, we'd love to hear your stance on it. Do you believe Qantas needs more aircraft to compete on the long-haul space? This could be A350s, or activating options for more 787s, which it is worth mentioning, they do have available on their books. Let us know down below in the comments. We appreciate the kind words and support, and look forward to you joining us in a couple more days for more aviation analysis. And we'll fly.